Hello, welcome to another video from the Conscientious Biologist, Ben Gallagher. This one's an introduction to phase 2, and hopefully you've just come from the last lesson at the end of phase 1, which was what do cells need, which is a summary and overview of biology. That video summarized all of phase 1 and really helps you to link all of biology together and understand that it all comes back to providing for the cell. Phase 2 is what happens after that. So we're really looking at the bigger picture, adding some complexity and detail to your understanding. So this introduces that. It's also within this video that I give you the overview of the lessons in sequence for you to follow to complete the rest of your GCSE course. As I've said, this is from the GCSE, and please do subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you. So let's start with the obvious and look at what's in phase 2. And I really want to link this back to phase 1 and show you that biology really is a complete and immersive subject that all harks back to the same basic thing of providing for the cells and then what happens to those cells. So phase 1 has given you a really comprehensive foundation in biology. It's so important that you've got phase 1 really set in your mind. From phase 1, you should now understand what life is, and that life basically comes down to two things. It must be cellular, and there must be metabolism within those cells. The cells must be doing reactions that keep themselves going and then give a new generation of cells that continue to show metabolism and continue to show life in that form. Now you should, from phase 1, be able to give comprehensive and detailed answers to 4 of the 5 big questions. If you remember back to the very first introductory lesson, it was on the big 5 questions, how I've come up with these questions to try and unify all of biology and really help you to appreciate that the study of biology isn't loads and loads of little compartments of knowledge. It's one overall understanding. And those questions, if I bring them back up for you, were: what are cells? What do they do? What do they need? And how do they get what they need? Now those 4 questions collectively made up phase 1. The last video on what do cells need kind of answered the 3rd one of those, but also unified all of the things together. But those are really essential. We're not going to go through them now. You can go back and watch the previous video to get a good summary of those. We're interested in the next one, the 5th question, because the 5th question is phase 2, and it's what is the result of that. So once you understand that life is cellular, that cells need to do certain things to survive, like protein synthesis, DNA replication, mitosis, once you've got your head around all of those, it's really, well, what happens next? Once we've got these cellular life forms, then what? Okay, so we can kind of summarize that by saying that the answer is essentially competition, because once you've got a cell that can do something but requires nutrients to do that, well, there's going to be other cells that require those same nutrients as well. So they're in competition. So one of them needs to get a bit better, be more efficient at getting those nutrients, using those nutrients. And then they might find that actually, if a couple of us team up and work together, we can compete even better for those things. So we'd better get even more complex. And once you get even more complex, then suddenly you need systems of communication between the cells. Suddenly you need a system of transporting stuff around. So competition, that desire to get better and get more of the resources, is what drives evolution, and evolution creates complexity. So really, what happens next once you've got this cellular life and the cellular life can process is that you have competition driving evolution to create complexity. So really, phase 1 is this statement. It's about explaining the complexity of being a multicellular organism in a biologically diverse world. Okay, how complex life has become. To do so, it must become multicellular organisms like us that are made up of many, many cells, and that those multicellular organisms fit into a world where there are millions of other organisms and how we all interact. So what's the result of that? It's complexity. Okay, if we try and subdivide phase 2, we're only still looking at a handful of basic questions. How does evolution happen? If we've said that's the key thing here, how does it happen? And then how are those new advantages passed on to next generations? How does the body defend itself once it's multicellular and there's bacteria and viruses that want to attack it? How does a multicellular organism communicate to its different parts? So how does the brain talk to your feet and your muscles and your heart? How does your liver know what to do? How do they send signals to tell your body when to grow? So body communication is a big deal that comes with that complexity of a multicellular organism. Then how has our understanding of biology as humans improved our control over it? So our understanding of biology has increased and increased. We've evolved more and more complex brains. We're the first organisms ever really to use cells to study our cells, the cells of our brain, to allow our thoughts to process and consider how the rest of us works. We're an evolved creature studying evolved creatures. That's an amazing thing. But how has our development and our improvements in technology led to massive ways forward? Okay, so that's a more human element to it. And then lastly, how does the complexity of life on Earth interact and affect the planet? So that's more looking at the ecology side. So take a screenshot of this, add it to your notes so you've got it there as this is the overall of phase 2, and that it is really just an extension of phase 1, which was those first 4 questions. We'll move on now and I'll give you the topics. So phase 2 does contain more lessons than phase 1, but I don't want that to scare you, but I'm going to put them all up now. So you've got all of these and then all of these as well. So it looks like a lot. That's actually 44 content lessons plus a start and an end one, over 7 playlists or topics, and that covers 12 hours worth of content. If you were to just sit down and watch all of these lessons from phase 2, it would take you 12 hours. Now that might seem like a ridiculous amount of time. That's a huge amount of time. But please keep in mind, phase 2 covers a full year of biology GCSE. Now I'm hoping you've just gone, oh, okay, that doesn't seem so bad. 12 hours to cover an entire year, and it is literally an entire year. These topics cover a full year of content. Okay, so it's a pretty good deal, really. 1 hour of my lessons to cover a month of teaching. So it is a big thing. Of course, I'm not saying this can replace your teaching, because what I can't do in these videos is have question and answer sessions, which is such an important part of your learning. I can't give you loads of extra tasks to reinforce the learning. We don't repeat it all and go over and over it. So, you know, this can't replace your lessons, but if you're struggling with any topics, these videos should really help consolidate the knowledge and help you to revise. But please remember your revision. If it takes 12 hours for me to just explain the topics, to revise them thoroughly will take much more than 12 hours. A lot of you won't do that much revision for your GCSEs. I would hope that you do, and certainly those of you that want to do well at biology and want to take it on at A level, you need to be looking in total at doing at least 30 to 40 hours of revision for biology. You're not going to get that done in the week or so before the exam. So you need to start your revision for your exams very early and do a little bit at a time. Okay, let's just add a couple of points to this though. As I've said, I strongly recommend that you are very confident in your knowledge from phase 1 before beginning phase 2. The reason is that phase 2 builds on phase 1. Phase 1 is your foundations, your understanding of biology. Everything now is just what next. It's taking that knowledge and going, well, you can use that knowledge for this system, you can use that knowledge for that bit of biology. So make sure you're phase 1, because without strong foundations, what you build on top will be weak. Okay, there's no point jumping straight to phase 2 if you don't understand the key principles that I covered in phase 1. Okay, take a screenshot of this so you've got this list. I do have this exact list on my Facebook channel though, so if you're not sure, if you can't remember, if you lose a screenshot of this, go to my Facebook channel, go to the photos, there's a picture of the lesson list for the entire course, so check there. Okay, that's it for the introductions. We'll head on to the lessons now. Okay, as you saw on that last list, the first thing I want you to start with is the genetics and inheritance unit, which starts with the structure of DNA, including complementary base pairing. We have looked at DNA before, but this covers the really fine detail that you must know for GCSE. It then leads on to the detailed process of protein synthesis, which is far and away the most important bit of biology to understand. So head there next. As always, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel to keep updated on the videos as I release them. Like this video if you found it useful, and do head over to my Facebook channel if you have access to Facebook. There's a lot more on there than just information about this course. There's loads of extra and supplementary information to bulk out your knowledge and give you a deeper understanding. Thank you. Good luck with phase 2.